Well, I guess I'll call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Somebody wanna make a motion to approve the agenda or change anything in there that we would want to change?
One thing I would like to ask. Health, I mean, we've been getting reports from Human Services. I don't see where it shows that.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, you're doing those at work group session.
We're not doing one.
No,
Just-
Okay.
Just work group
Just
session.
work group
just work
session.
group session.
It's not on today's agenda.
All right, then I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve the previous minutes from board meeting June 28, 22.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Anybody here got anything they wanna talk about? Got much up there today.
Donna's gone.
All right, I guess we'll start moving on to the appointments. We'll pass them till later. Consent agenda. That's pretty much done, correct? We approve
Karen, is
that?
this the one that we? Yep, okay. And it was an internal, yep. I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda. Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, moving on, action items. Consider approving change order number 40 covering the landscaping allowance materials to be moved to the tax exempt project. Brian?
So this is moving, such a, it's a no cost change order, moving, the landscape materials from, this for the seeding, the turf establishment and stuff that Schrader's doing at the new, highway shop site. So just moving it from the labor category to the actual material costs into the material categories. So
Was this not, is this part of Weezer's contract?
yeah,
Did we not do a tax exemption initially on
so
that?
there's been several different items within the project overall that start off in the labor category. And then once they know the actual material cost, then it gets moved to the material side. So
So every time it gets moved, you have to do this. And it's not a blanket.
It's not, a
correct. We've been doing it
It's a no cost thing. It's just I'll make a motion to approve.
second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve this change order number 40. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Still got a meeting tomorrow at 1:30.
Yes.
You were gonna ask about.
Oh,
Sorry.
you're gonna set up an airport committee meeting sometime.
Yep, I've been talking to our consultant, about a month ago. I asked for if we should get another meeting set up. He wanted to hold off just slightly longer because of, some correspondence with the FAA. So we should have one soon.
Just let us know.
And
Thank you.
we have Minnesota DOT coming next week.
Don't have a date set with them yet. I told them to let me know what's gonna work with their schedules. So sometime in the next couple months, I would guess.
And are the glass shelves in on the display
Yes.
case?
Yes.
Well, Jake was waiting to hear if they were, so.
Yep. Yep, everything is ready to start putting stuff on there. So if he has the the
yes,
description's all made up. We can
yes,
put it on.
okay.
Thank you.
Blacktop on 1 and 10 is complete.
No, they have, some of the surface from 10 has been started, now the surface is on 1, so either at the very end of this week or the very beginning of next week, should we have all the surface done.
And then they're gonna do shouldering too then?
Yep.
Did they put a wider pad or wider width down?
One is wider,
Oh, yeah, for the bike
Right.
path.
and I believe it's the same width.
It is.
For,
I suppose
maybe it was the 11-foot things before.
it seems wider to me because there isn't much shoulder left.
It might be slightly wider than that pavement on 10. I know the pavement on 1 is definitely wider. than that. Just, see what the original was.
Yeah. Okay.
So we put on the same width what we do on
Mhm.
main. There's upper projects.
Well, you were waiting to get up and go. Questions. Thank you, though,
Okay.
yes,
That's good.
yes.
Number 2, consider approving transfer of funds from the highway fund to the capital project fund as attached that were processed to eliminate negative cash balances in each of the months. Carol.
Yes, so I provided copies of each of the trial balances before I ran the reports to send out to you, and I then neglected to have you approve those transfers. So between December 31st and May 31st, those are the transfers that we needed each month with bills that were approved to make sure that we weren't showing a negative cash balance. So money spent that's moved from DOT to road bridge to the capital. The board didn't approve just a blanket transfer at the beginning, just to do it as we needed the funds moved.
Paper trail, it's a paper trail again as far as
As far as
keeping
our
the auditors
are-
happy.
As far as our auditors are concerned.
Right.
Just the transfers.
From one account to another, I'll make a motion to approve the transfers.
I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the transfers. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Carol, that bonding we did, 3 million.
Mhm.
That was locked, right? For interest?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're not going up to
Good.
5%.
good timing.
Jesus, come on now.
We don't have an arm.
I was just thinking about that over the weekend.
And we will need an update on highway department, the new project expenses.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was looking to see how much kind of we had left on the user contract.
Kind of like to
but I'm
have
not
for
really
open
sure,
house,
so
right?
we'll get
Yes.
something
it'd be nice to get a
together
final figure,
prior to the
agree to a
open house.
final figure so we can, people are gonna ask, so we can say
What was that?
what
Yes.
the cost was.
Mhm.
Stayed with that budget.
And I'm sure the press would like to know that too, probably.
Okay, number 3, considering approving a contract with the TKDA to update Houston County Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Martin,
Is not here.
is he in the building or is he gonna show or what do you think? Should we move to 4?
Contact them, and see if he's here. Okay.
Brownsville did it again. I see the number 4 there, some more donating, just.
150 here, 150 there. He just.
There we go. Just.
Boy, you're fast.
You're up, Martin.
Martin, come on.
That's.
That's okay.
Okay,
What we're proposing is the contract signed for TKDA. We do have the mapping requirements in there, and we did add additional meetings as well. So it brought the cost up to about 75. So other than that, it looks like everything's ready to go. Sam looked at it, Tess looked at it, and TKDA did sign it and sent it back.
They did sign it and send it back,
Yes.
so it's approved on our end as far as the attorney.
Yeah,
Surprises in it. So
it didn't seem to be.
So on the scheduling here, deliverable dates, they've all been pushed back, I see,
Right.
because of the delay in approving this contract, or
Right. And they did line out and then go revised. There's some schedule.
so what caused the delay of this getting this done? Because we approved this, what, first part of May?
We did. It kind of got caught in the review process.
On their end, or
On our end. I did route it.
we reviewed the contract and made changes. Then they review the contract and look at the changes, and some they accept and some they don't.
Right.
There's a little back and forth that goes with that.
And it, for the most part, they didn't disagree with anything. You know, it's pretty much a standard contract, and it was more just sort of deleting out the fact that we don't have soil boards, we don't have information on this, don't have information on that. That's the stuff that was fair about that. And then Sam didn't really have any changes. Tess had some notifications for diversity or something in contracts and just things like that.
Well, you gotta get this going, so we're gonna miss the fair the way it looks here, but maybe, I don't know. Because the kickoff meeting's late July, completed community background memorandum in October.
Yeah.
First public engagement is November, is that right?
I think what we could do with the fairs, I think we can try to get some exposure out there potentially.
fair,
I'll certainly see what we can do. I guess that's the best way to phrase it.
One way or the other, we do have to keep going.
Some sense in sitting around. I don't know. Let's get moving on it.
So the changes to get it to 75 was just because of more public meetings or what?
It was more public meetings and then the mapping.
Oh, yeah.
That was the
The
big.
mapping is big one.
That was the big.
$5,000 if I remember right.
Mhm.
And then the other nuance with that too, and Tess put that in there, is that in terms of like work product, their language was one thing, ours was another in terms of the work product that's done is ours, not theirs. Their language was a little, it wasn't, they weren't, we made it clearer to be very direct that it's ours, not theirs, and they agreed to it. That was probably one of the biggest changes to it, and kind of, you look at it in that area, the maps and things like that, down the road, we don't want to be in a situation where we're having to go back to them to get something from them.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
once we get them, that's it. Yes, these are obviously going to continue on after this process.
Mhm. The maps will continue to change. They'll have to be updated, but we need them updated from what we've
From
got
our
over the
Yeah,
years.
and then that's the base that we can work off of too, so it should be easier to do.
Everybody understand it?
And even with these changes, it came in less than the other
Right.
bid and proposal.
You know, and I think everybody liked in the interview process, at least that's my takeaway, is that they thought the project manager for this consultant was more engaged and gonna be, ready to go.
Make a motion to approve the contract with TKDA. for the Upgrading of the Houston County Comprehensive Land Use Plan.
Second,
Okay, we've had a motion and a second to approve the comprehensive plan use to hire TKDA to do the work. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. I will let them know, and I will also talk with them about,
If anything can be done. for the fair.
expediting.
see what we can do. Thank you very much.
Yep. Number 4, considering accepting a Brownsville VFW donation of $150 to the Veteran Service Office to use for any veterans needs. Mr. Thone?
Robert is not here.
This is,
We
we do this,
Formality.
we've been doing this every month, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's a requirement that the board
Yep.
accept donations.
Okay,
I think we can do it.
Teresa, you wanna make a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to accept the donation from Brownsville VFW.
I'll second it. We've had a motion and a second to approve the donation of $150 from Brownsville VFW. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Good.
Speaking of that office, before we move on, did they ever get their van?
It's ordered.
It's ordered.
It's
I think.
ordered?
I haven't heard they got it.
As of last month, it hadn't arrived yet.
It wasn't?
No, we haven't received notification. On the way.
I knew we brought it up a month ago and I just hadn't heard an update. Okay,
Well, I guess board chair for updates. I haven't had no meetings since last week. No troubles that I know of, so I guess we can move on to you, Teresa.
I didn't have any meetings since our last one either.
The only thing I attended was there was an online meeting with MCIT with regard to protecting property and property insurances and whatnot. It was an MCIT presentation to Houston County specifically. So there were numerous department heads that were involved with it. And I sat and listened to it also. It was a 1-hour program just about making sure you've got all the proper ways of reporting your property. Buildings one way, equipment another, and make sure you don't have, like a squad car is recorded, but the loose equipment inside the squad car needs to be paid attention to, because there's a limit on how much you can take, how much they'll cover if you don't have it recorded. So if somebody goes in and wrecks all the equipment in the squad car, radio and computer and whatnot, you have a $2,500 limit on $5,000 or $6,000 worth of equipment if you don't have it listed. So it was just different things that we should do to make sure that we have proper coverage.
Informational mostly to update.
It was informational update. It was interesting. So but that's all I have to report.
Eric?
I didn't have any meetings either. I did get in the mail this last week here, some information from NACO on the ARPA usage of funds. I don't know, did everybody else get one of those?
No,
Came in a big envelope. I should have brought it with. And it had some of the ways you could use the money and some changes that have been done. I think we already know all about those changes, so I don't know, I was just wondering if you guys got, I'll bring it along next time.
Did you get it, Carol? Anything like that from?
Was there
Did you
anything?
get email? Last week?
Yeah, it was a big envelope I got it was from NACO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not the feds.
Oh,
Thinking that we should be careful.
Yeah, they pointed out some of the things you shouldn't be doing using it for. I can't go through it right now, but
Okay.
I can't, I should have brought it with, but I didn't, forgot it. I'll bring it along next time.
We've been pretty careful about this.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done so far is fine, so. Yeah. So I don't have anything else, no.
no meetings. I got some coming up next week, but nothing in EDA tomorrow. That's about it.
Oh, yes, tomorrow morning. Gotta remember that.
8 o'clock.
I
Did
will
I
send a
remind you?
reminder.
Allison, you got any updates that we need to know about or anything, or Carol?
I will just say this Thursday for department heads, it's a hard deadline for getting stuff into the packet. I will not be here Friday. Donna will be doing the packet, so.
All right. I guess we'll move on to the closing public comment. Anybody here got anything? Don't look like nobody on there is flashing lights. So I guess we'll move on. Now we want to do, have a motion to go into closed session. Is that how we want to do it again?
Make a motion to go into closed session for department head review statute 13D 105 subdivision 3.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to go into closed session. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners, we have a request that the session remain open
Okay.
by an employee, so.
Oh, well,
So we don't.
I guess we'll nix that then.
Or somebody want to make a motion to
reopen?
Go back into open session.
I make a motion, we go back into open session.
And I second it.
Okay, we had a motion and a second to go back into open session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we're in open session.
The commissioners have a reminder that it's, data practices that the discussion is just pertains to these rights.
Thank you.
Somebody got any questions for Lucas? Anybody up here? You have time to look it all over?
Copy of that. So I apologize. I might have forgot what I wrote.
I guess one of my thoughts as I was going through this, do you do annual evaluations of your staff on a regular basis, annually, I guess?
Yeah, we haven't done them yet this year, but we
Okay.
did last year.
All right.
We'll be doing construction.
One other thing I was noticing as I was reading, staffing, are you, how short or is it the peaks and valleys type of work? That you could use more staffing at a certain time of year and less at enough time of year?
Like most departments, we could always use more help, but we probably could use another appraiser, but they are, they're working in pairs mostly, which we tend to get a lot more done doing that. It's a lot shorter time at the property, so in return, it saves us time because one's taking pictures, one's asking questions, one's taking notes. And just the safety part of it is, I prefer having two people at a property anymore, just for safety, but it doesn't seem like it would be faster, but it really is a lot faster. When one person goes out, you're looking at about 20 to 25 minutes at a property, and when there's two of them, it's about 10 to 15 minutes. Doesn't seem like a lot, but through the course of a day, I mean, that's, two or three more properties a day, and that adds up at the end of the week, you got 20 more properties than you would have. So that's kind of how we've been doing it. So that's been working well. It's just the entry side of it, the clerical tech side of it, that takes a lot of time.
My final comment or question, Can you explain the neighborhoods separated out, or how does that, what do you mean? You're trying to, areas that are maybe higher in values? Is that what
Yeah,
you meant
just
by
as
that?
far as like with our value increases, we've always had to just do it basically by the county or by the city. We haven't had different areas within cities or townships broke out. So this, with all the sales that have been happening in the last few years, there's a lot of data out there. So we can look at, like in McCrescent, it's pretty easy. So there's, like Shore Acres, that's pretty easy to separate out. What sales came from Shore Acres? What was our ratio on those compared to the rest of the city? And then also within the city, we noticed there's a lot of areas, there's an area on the north side that has a lot of townhouses or twin dough houses. So we're seeing a lot of sales on those. Right now, those aren't separated out. So they're getting valued the same as the rest of the city and affecting their values and the city values. So this next year, that's one area we're planning on breaking that area out as kind of a twin, we haven't thought of a name yet, but we just think of a name, and then in our system, I can break those out. So then when I run our reports, they'll show up separately. So that's the main reason that I want to separate out these areas. So when I run a report, it'll literally tell me this is the group, this is the group, and I can see the ratio and know if what areas need to be adjusted more than others. It's just, it's in an effort of fairness that instead of just increasing or lowering everyone,
A blanket.
we can, the smaller the, you don't want to get too small. You don't want to have like 4 or 5 houses and break it
No.
out that way. But it's pretty, when you start looking at the sales, it is pretty defined what areas make a neighborhood or an area. And so then as we make those out, it's just gonna make the assessment, more equitable and fair for everyone. So that's kind of the goal behind it and the reasoning.
I see it as a big benefit for
Yeah,
everybody.
definitely. I think it's.
Like-
Creates more fairness, like
Yeah.
Valley High would be another.
Yeah, Valley
There you
High
go.
was a new one last year that we broke out, and that, they were originally just part of Mountain Prairie. Well, like last year when I was looking at the sales, we had 5 sales in Valley High, 2 in the township. The 5 in Valley High area, there's 51 houses there in that subdivision. Their ratio is 40%, whereas the rest of the township was, 82, I think, or 85, something like that. Where in the past, I'd had to give the whole township a 60-some% increase. Well, then those 2, everybody else in the township was now well over 100% ratio. So it just made sense to break them out. And, we had a lot of conversation with people from Valley High, but when we explain it, they understood, and it's just an effort of fairness.
Yep.
I think that's something that.
That made it easier for all of us when you did a great job, have done a great job explaining things, and people go away understanding. That's the important part, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of my goal when I took this job, was to work closer with the public, educate the public, kind of what our office actually does. I mean, a lot of people didn't understand what, I used to just think the assessor office does everything and it's always the assessor's fault. I get that. I was one of those people, but it's, I think education and just talking with people have helped a lot in the county, and they really do see that we're trying to do things fairly, and that's, I guess that's the ultimate goal, obviously.
And I thank you for that.
I too would echo what Dewey said, because I've heard very good compliments and everything about your office explaining things that you didn't really set their taxes.
Yeah.
Which is a real bad misconception for people.
So
Thank
question with regard to one of your responses talked about people calling you for estimates of how much of my tax is gonna be, or what's my taxes gonna change. And as the assessors, you don't determine the tax, but you send them to the auditor's office to ask how much their taxes are gonna be, or who besides you can do that calculation?
Currently, in there, as far as being certified through the state, it's Donna and then myself and Joe in our office. We just
we don't calculate the tax. I mean, a lot of that should go to the auditor's office. We do try and just help people out if we have the time. But, you know, we just like to understand how to calculate taxes, mostly for helping us understand it and to explain it to people. But I guess personally, I feel like we probably shouldn't be calculating those, because if something, you
It's
know, if we.
Because it's
make
an
a
estimate,
mistake,
it's an
there's-
estimate, and
Yeah.
they're gonna be upset about it.
Yeah, so.
I mean, that's what your question is here is, should we be trying to do that?
Yeah. you know,
And,
'cause I
and
know-
do paybacks. I mean, paybacks is a little different, isn't it? You mean, paybacks would be like for the Green Acres stuff?
Yeah, you know, even like calculating the Green Acre payback, I mean, we know the value of that land, but even the, you know, the tax part of it or the deferral part of it, I mean, that's calculated through auditor. or finance. I'm not
yep.
sure how they calculate, you know, I know the ratio and I can come up with a number, and a lot of times the lawyers will contact us first and I'll figure it out and I'll give them a number, and then I send that down to Donna and say, hey, there's a sale coming through, the payback, this is the amount I calculated it at. But, you know, I assume I'm doing it correctly, but again, I'm not the auditor, I'm not the treasurer, I'm the assessor, so. it's
But
fine.
that should go through the other office. then.
For sure. I guess that's my question, or was
Mhm.
my question, so. And I don't wanna put work on anybody else, I know how to do it, and I've been doing it, so.
But, you know, going from the additional staff member, once you get done with the quartile and you go to quintile, that's gonna take some pressure off, correct?
I hope so.
Instead of doing 25% of the county, you're doing 20%.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit fewer as far as that's concerned. But to do the estimating on how much their taxes are gonna be, one, it's just the county taxes. They aren't gonna be able to, nobody can tell them what the school is gonna be, what
No.
the township or the city is gonna be. It's only the county's taxes, and people have to understand that that's 40% or so of their overall tax rate. If they come in and you send them down to Donna's office, does then she ask you what the valuation is in order to make the calculation?
Yeah, like a lot of the requests are from banks or stuff, you know, they wanna know, they want 2023 taxes. Well, the only thing we can give them is 2023 value, and then we have to use 2022 rates, tax rates to calculate it, so it's always an estimate, but yeah, so we'll give them the 2023 value, and then Donna will calculate the rate based on 2022, which.
So we can give them the value, then Donna can give them the tax.
Yeah,
So this is something that department heads should work out as far
Yeah.
as.
and we, you know, pretty good to communicate back and forth, so.
Well, I've liked the fact that since you became the assessor, that you've looked into ways of making the tax system more fair and even it out, you know, such as the, you know, cutting out the neighborhoods and stuff like that. And it's the farmland thing where you know, the value of farmland went up, but then you're only getting taxed on the older value, 5,800 or whatever. I mean, because you've asked questions, you talk to the Department of Rev, you've asked questions and to find out what you can and can't do and what's possible. And I like the fact that you make a special effort to look into that.
And it's part of my job as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, it is. It is. Yep.
So what does GA and RP stand for?
Green Acres and Road Reserve, so that's kind of what Eric's.
Yeah.
talking about, the Green Acres Road Reserve program, and we've always had it, or the ability of it in our county. I think it came about in 2007 or 8. But it was only ever implemented on woodland or wasteland. But the Department of Revenue in the state has always had a green acre value on tillable land, we've just never implemented it. And they literally send the value to us every year. And they sent the value to me this year, and it was 5,200 was the taxable value on the tillable. And our value on tillable was like 7,600. So I was called him right away. I said, so does this mean that when I read this, does this mean I can put a deferral on the taxes on the tillable land? And they said, yeah, that's what it means. Nobody's ever really done that. And I said, well, our county's gonna do it, so.
Good thinking.
When you comment about getting involved in legislation for change to the homestead evaluation, is that like an assessors association that's involved with the legislation, or do you mean you personally?
Well, there is the State Board of Assessors, and so we send in comments to them. I personally have called Greg Davids personally and talked to him. We're planning on sitting down together and going over my ideas, because I told him I have a lot as far as the homestead credit hasn't changed for 15, 20 years. You know, like I told Greg when I talked to him, that the values should have changed in 15 to 20
Right,
years. So
and
why
what
isn't-
what they're giving credit for is obsolete. I mean,
yeah, it's almost jokeable. I
Yep.
think what it is, and so I, you know, and he agreed, so he thought that, you know, we'd sit down and go over that kind of stuff, because I think it's, you know, I'm just one person, but if I can start the conversation, I guess is my thinking.
and he's on the tax committee. so-
Yeah, and next year he's gonna be the chair of it, he said, so he really wanted to talk.
He's
because-
hoping.
Yeah, so. I don't
Elections will have
know.
We'll see what happens, yeah.
But one thing I liked about this job, and where I've never, in the past, I was always kind of quiet and I wouldn't reach out for those things, but I definitely have really learned to just, I do have a voice even though I'm one person, so I'm using that the best I can.
Well, that's the only way they're gonna know what's going on is they hear from the local assessors and get an understanding of what you guys have to do and what you go through, and some of the troubles you're having here and there on some, you know, the tax law is so complicated, it's ridiculous, you know, so they don't get rid of the old one, they just add more new ones, and then you find out there's, well, that creates a problem here and here, and
Yeah.
So hopefully when you have your meeting with Greg, you can also send your information to the association, so the rest of the state assessors know their 2 cents in with their legislation.
Yeah, I've had conversations with them too and sent them my thoughts, and I've gotten replies back, so that's cool.
No more questions.
You have
Like-
any questions? For Whoops, I'm sorry, did somebody have one?
well, I just want to feel, I feel you gave yourself an honest assessment here, and I feel that since you've been assessor, you've done a good job of regrouping the audit department, and everybody's been working together and getting along good, and have good communication with the public, so.
I echo that.
Did a good job.
You've put out a lot of fires.
You have any questions for us?
I don't think so. I do, if I can. This is from the county board meeting. I need all of you that was here to sign it.
Oh,
If
yeah,
we could do that, quick,
for the
great, so I can send that to the
local,
state.
local board of equalization.
Sure.
That's
You're up.
that's the only thing I have.
All right,
All right.
Sign her in.
Yes, does Robert know that?
Right here.
Okay.
And he does request a closed session.
Closed.
I don't need your signature. Sorry.
Still send it as Robert.
When I missed in 12 years.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Somebody did.
You use it.
See ya. So you bet, you too. Good luck with that.
Thank you, guys.
thanks, Lou.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, the next next one, we have to do a closed meeting. Somebody want to make a motion to
I'll
that?
make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.105 subdivision 3 to evaluate performance of individual who is subject to its authority.
Second. Oh, go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to go into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're in the closed session.
So just one sec, I'm gonna let someone back into the meeting that's in the waiting room. Okay,
We need to know who made the motion.
I made the motion to come back to open session at 10:40 and Dewey seconded.
And we all voted in favor.
and then brief summary, it would basically probably just be like what you said last
Yep.
week, but,
Mhm.
okay.
Closing public, I asked, do we have any closing for public comment?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
There we go. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're out of here. Guys.